Hi, I'm Chris James, and you're watching Healthy Alternative. Today, I want to talk about the benefits of Michael, and today we're going to be talking about.
Today we'll be making one of my favorite soups.
Welcome to
Creamy
the
tomato
JR72
soup.
Shower.
I am Animated Mel, and I am your mental and wellness coach for
As
Healthy
always,
Alternative.
perfection is not needed, but consistency.
We must first lovingly accept what is. You can't heal a body you hate.
No matter what, you have to put yourself first. If you're not aware that there's change that needs to be made, how can you fix it? This information is fire.
I had to come to the realization that, number one, I was an emotional eater.
We need to accept the decisions that we make, because if we can do that, then we have the power to change them. You came here so that way you can start moving into your heaven path.
Once again, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Hello. Welcome, everyone. I think we are live right now on we're live on YouTube. We are live on Facebook. So thank you. Recently, I have noticed that there are a lot of new people coming in to the AJ communities. A lot of new people joining on Facebook. I see a lot of new names. So this is good. I haven't done a live here on the channel. My little takeover every once in a while. Sorry, I'm not Chris James, but I promise you, there's good information here. So for those that do not know me, my name is Stephen Michael. I am one of the AHA wellness coaches, and my specialty and what I do here for AHA specialize in emotional intelligence, helping raise people's emotional intelligence. I've had a very crazy story, some major ups, major downs, and I think that for me, my goal is just simply to share the information that I have gained over the years, my knowledge, and the tools that I have gained over the time to help me along my journey. I'm just reading some of the comments. Someone said you can't see me. Okay, someone says they can. Yeah, we're good. Hello, Leslie. Thanks for showing up. Appreciate it. Yeah, a lot of new names. I like this. Monies. I think that's how you say it. Hello. So just so that you guys know, and I'm just going to be upfront here. Now, as you all know, if you every time that we have a challenge, of course, it's plastered everywhere. So this is going to be geared towards the DR96. I love the fact that Chris had the foresight to launch the DR96 during the month of Ramadan. Ramadan is how I first got into dry fasting. And I originally just had heard about it from somebody who was like, "Do you practice Ramadan?" I guess they thought I was Muslim. And I was like, "No, I don't know what that is." And it's a time where the focus is on their relationship with God. And it's similar to like Catholics that practice Lent. So during the season of Lent, Catholics will give up something for that period of time. It's not necessarily fasting. I mean, it is sort of fasting because you're giving something up, but it's not the same at all. And what they simply do is they can eat in the morning and then after the sun sets. And other than that, they're dry fasting. So no food or water. So dry fasting is a process that is done by billions of people throughout the year. It is not something that is, oh, this is new. No, it is something that is done by billions of people. So as we go through this this live tonight, I am going to be just periodically dropping this link. So if you have not joined, periodically you're going to see this link pop up. I'll just randomly slide it in there. Go ahead and pop in, join us for the DR96. I'll make sure that I have it added to the video itself a little bit later. Unfortunately, it's not there right now. Yeah, Shannon, inside of the DR96, I'll tell you this. Out of all the challenges, there is something different. Hadn't even started yet. We go live tomorrow. We're not fasting tomorrow. So don't worry. If you're like, Stephen, I'm not ready. I don't know what to do. It's okay. We're going to teach you. But there's definitely a buzz in there because this is also the first dry fasting challenge that we've done. And just so that you all know, so that you know that you are speaking to somebody who has been where you are at or is not going to tell you to do something I've never done. I have done a total of 10 days dry fasting at one time. So things that we have been taught about water and, oh, if you don't drink water for 3 days, you're going to die. This is not true. Now, we do need water. That's a whole different conversation, but we don't need it by drinking it. But I've done a 10-day dry fast. I've completed a 65-day juice fast, and my longest water fast is 30 days. So I say that to just let you know I've done these things. I've done multiple dry fasts, but 10 days is my record. So I wanted to give people a few minutes to get in here. I won't belabor you long, family. My goal is not to belabor you, but sometimes I start talking and then something takes over and then we end up sitting here for an hour. I don't know. You're a vet, let it be known. Listen, I'm not sometimes people see my videos on the channel, and if they're new to the channel or if they've only been here for a few months, they don't really know me. They know Chris. So sometimes I have to sometimes I gotta drop my accolades just so that you guys know. It's a great question. Okay, I'll rephrase it. How does a 47-year-old do this safely? You would do it the exact way that we teach it. Doesn't matter if you're 47, doesn't matter if you're 14, doesn't matter if you're 80. Now, if you have other issues, right? There's underlying issues where, maybe you take life-saving medication or you have to take a daily medication. That's a completely different conversation. But just simply because of your age, that don't matter. Matter of fact, the older you are, probably the more you need to do this. So we're going to be talking about inflammation. Sometimes these lives on the main YouTube channel are hard for me because I see so many questions and I want to answer them all because I do have a lot of answers. But I do also have a presentation that we need to get into. Now this is something I do want to address. Can you have cheat meals after a prolonged water fast and keep the weight off? No, it doesn't work that way. Here's the thing about fasting. It doesn't matter if it's water fasting, juice fasting, dry fasting. You will never be able to go back to eating the way that you ate prior to your fasting. If you do, the weight that you lost, you will gain back. Now, when you say cheat meals, I assume that means that most of your diet or the primary part of your diet is going to be a healthy diet, right? You've changed your diet and you're not eating a lot of the processed foods. You're not eating a lot of the pro-inflammatory foods, mucus-forming foods. right? You've removed a lot of that stuff, and every once in a while you have something. Let's just say maybe once a week. Will you be able to maintain your standard weight? For the most part, yes. Right. Now, that's dependent upon you changing your diet for like 95% of the time. But your diet is primarily the reason that you are where you are. Like, we like to blame it on all these different things, but I promise you, if you change your diet, everything else will start changing. All right. Yeah, that's yeah. So said you shouldn't want to go back after all the hard work, for me at least. I would say that this is the question was probably, I would assume, be posed by someone who is not deep into fasting, um, who doesn't really maybe quite understand the way that it works or what it does. And a lot of the what's it called? A lot of just natural weight loss coaches and society and the health industry teaches us that you should have a cheat meal to help keep you sane. But this is why a lot of a lot of these things just simply don't work long term, because that's not the way that things work. That's not the way that you want to have things. So can you do a separate video with questions and answers? So there was a video that was done by Chris. I believe it was yesterday or the day before, that he does like a Q&A. And in the challenge, I usually do a full like Q&A Monday. But no, listen, my presentation, we're good. My presentation isn't super long, so it's fine. I want, and plus it gives people a few extra minutes to kind of get in. But if you join the challenge, I do a full live Q&A on the day after we start. So we launch Sunday, which is tomorrow, which we'll do our introduction. You'll meet the coaches. We'll go through the challenge, things of that nature. And then on Monday, I will go through and I will literally spend an hour with no other reason than just to answer questions and go through the guide a little bit deeper. So we're going to get into things here, though. If you haven't joined yet and you're looking to join, and you order products, they usually will arrive within about 3 to 5 days, give or take, depending on where you live. The products are meant to be used throughout the challenge. So you don't just need them at the beginning, but you will also use them in the middle of the challenge as well. So don't think that if you join, today, and you're not going to get them until Friday, there's no reason to get them. You can still buy them. You will be able to use them throughout the challenge. All right, but we're going to talk about inflammation. But we're going to talk about the 5 dangers of inflammation. Or there's more than 5 dangers, but I'm going to talk about 5 different dangers. And one of the reasons that inflammation is so important, because it really helps us to understand why things are happening. So just so that you guys know, you can continue talking in chat. But when I pull this up, I pretty much won't be able to see it. But I will try to check it. But we're gonna go ahead and get into things here. So if you have never been to one of my lives, something that I do is I'm not really, how can I I don't really do things lecture style, right? I am somewhat interactive, right? But I always tell people, bring a pen and a notepad to my lessons, because I like to teach. I was going to be an actual teacher, an educator, and I ended up going to school for music instead, because I got a scholarship. So I didn't go the route of a teacher, and then I got into sales, and that's how I do so well with talking, I guess. But I'm a born teacher. My parents were teachers, so that's what I do. All right, so we're going to talk about the dangers of inflammation. All right, can you guys see that? Yeah. All right. Yeah. And I'm going to put this into I'm going to make this a little bit bigger for you so you guys can see. There you go. All right. And I can see chat too. All right. We're good now. So we're going to talk about the dangers of inflammation, but not only are we going to talk about obviously why it's dangerous, but we're going to go a little bit deeper and try to break down what it actually is. Thank you, Shannon. We're going to break down a little bit of what it actually is so that you understand it a little bit more, because I think that a lot of times when we hear inflammation, like, we don't really know what that is, right? I think a lot of times we hear inflammation, and in the wellness world, we hear water weight, and that's like, well, let's say the weight loss world. But depending on who you're asking, you may get a different answer. So we're going to talk about what it actually is. And this is no secret. This wasn't like, this isn't me going into the jungles of the safari and meeting with a holistic doctor to get these answers. It's just something that's not really spoken about. And then we're going to talk about the 5 dangers and the solution, which I think that you guys kind of already know, but that wasn't really a secret. It's really just, I really just want you to understand inflammation. All right, so let's get into it. I'm excited. Sorry. All right. So what is inflammation? Also, if you guys get my news journal, or if you're subscribed to my newsletter, some of this information will it's in the newsletter. If you're not subscribed, then you can. It's free, and I'll drop a link for that. Well, yeah, I don't know. I'm not good at self-promotion, but I'll drop a link for that if you want. All right, so what is inflammation? So the definition of inflammation, I want you to pay attention, right, is a localized physical condition in which part of the body becomes reddened, swollen, hot, and often painful, especially as a reaction to injury or infection. This is probably the most basic definition of inflammation that you can get. Right? It literally is what it is, or the scientific definition. But that really doesn't explain what it is, right? Inflammation is not simply just a fluid or what we have heard of as water weight. Inflammation is a complete biological process where the body recruits different substances or organic matter and combines them into a specific place inside of the body that is experiencing distress. Now, this is Stephen's definition based upon what I know about it and what it does and why it's there. So you'll understand more. Well, my job is to help you understand more of why a lot of times inflammation can be considered water weight, because it's literally at the core of all these other things that we're going to talk about. But that is what it simply is, right? So what is inflammation made from? So inflammation is a complex process, that involves immune cells, blood vessels, and chemicals inside of the body, right? So the cells, you have white blood cells, are meant to protect the body from infection and injury. So when you have infection or injury, body sends white blood cells, right? You have macrophages, clean up debris and foreign agents, regulatory or Treg cells that produce anti-inflammatory cytokines. So when you have inflammation, or when the body has to send inflammation somewhere, the cells that it sends are going to be the white blood cells, the macrophages, and the regulatory Treg cells, right, which are anti-inflammatory, right, and they produce anti-inflammatory cytokines. You have blood vessels. Blood vessels dilate to allow more blood to reach the injured area. I want you to pay particular attention to that, because someone mentioned they have high blood pressure. And as we go through this and we go through the dangers of inflammation, I want you to remember that. And the only reason I specify that is because I saw someone say I have high blood pressure, right? So the blood vessels dilate to allow more blood to reach the injured area. Blood vessels become more permeable. So they actually open up a little bit more, not the actual opening, but the cell wall themselves become more permeable, allowing more immune system cells to pass through. Now, think about that for a second. Do you think it's a good thing long term that your blood vessels are more permeable for things to move through them? Not through them as the actual vessel itself, but move in through the lining and into the whole of the vessel. And you would think, well, if the body is doing it, it's not that bad. Well, and I would agree with you. But if it can allow immune cells to move through, what else can move through? Good question. Right? And then you have chemicals that are inside of inflammation. Histamine causes blood vessels to leak fluid into tissues. I cannot pronounce this. This chemical, bradykinin. I don't know what it is. I should have looked it up. I'm not going to lie to you. Don't know how to pronounce it. Right? But it also causes blood vessels to leak into tissues. I don't know how to pronounce this one either. Listen, I'm not a scientist. I am a researcher, though, but I don't know how to pronounce this one as well. Prostaglandins. That's what I'm gonna call it. Prostaglandins, right? But but it's a chemical, and they're released by damaged cells. Cytokines released by activated leukocytes, and chemokines released by immune cells. So you have all of these different things. You have cells, blood vessels, chemicals that are recruited, and there's all these different processes that are happening in order to create the process of inflammation. Because inflammation, once again, is not just a liquid or a fluid. You have blood cells that are included in that as well, which are not necessarily a liquid or a fluid. They're made up of tissues, right? But the process of inflammation, this is what it's made out of. Now, the reason, and you'll see here, the reason that a lot of times you'll see inflammation described as like water weight in a lot of different times is because water makes up all of these. Water makes up chemicals, water makes up or is at the core of blood vessels, and of course, all cells are made up of primarily water, right? So you can imagine when you're dealing with inflammation and the body has to then send all these things to all these different places and it's all over the body, yeah, your weight's going to go up because now it's producing more water. It's holding on to more water because it has to add all these white blood cells and the macrophages and the T cells, right? All these different chemicals. There's literally 5 of them, different chemicals, and these things add up in weight. You guys all right, man? Somebody said what happened to the sound? Everything looks good on my end. Shan says sound is good. Okay, Abby, you good? I took human health and body disease, so I understand the pronunciation struggles. Yeah. I haven't taken a class, but I do a lot of reading. So unfortunately, I'm familiar with how it looks, but I literally have to go into like Google and type it in to get the pronunciation, and I just didn't do it. And I've done it before, but I just don't remember how to say them. But thank you for understanding my struggles, right? So we should have a general idea of what inflammation is made from, right? Now, what is the purpose or the job of this process? Because we want to start thinking of inflammation not as just simply another chemical or another liquid in the body, but we want to think of it as a process. All processes in the body require energy. They require glucose, right? There's all these chemical processes in the body. So I'm getting ahead of myself, but just imagine you're tired all the time. Well, your body is constantly using this process of inflammation because there's some issues. They all link together, right? But I hope that I'll make this make sense by the end of it. But understand that this process is not just like water flowing through the body and just like, oh, you have an issue here, let me just send a little bit of inflammation. No, it's an entire process. And you wonder why you're tired. So what's the purpose or what is this job? Number one, fight infection. You have the white blood cells are sent to the site to destroy, and pay attention to this, right? White blood cells are sent to the site, and they are sent to destroy bacteria, viruses, and other harmful substances, right? So if you understand that inflammation is made up of white blood cells, we just talked about it. Why are they being sent there? Well, then there's a problem, right? There's bacteria that shouldn't be there. There's a virus that shouldn't be there. Or there's other harmful substances that you have ingested, you have breathed in, they have gotten to your skin somehow, right? It's sent there in order to fight bacteria, viruses, and other harmful substances. Why is that important? Because if you understand that the purpose of inflammation and you have an understanding of what is in inflammation, then you can understand why you may have a lot of inflammation. So we have to think of things when we talk about the process, we want to think of things as, well, I don't want to just get rid of inflammation. Well, why is inflammation there? Right? There's a bacteria, there's a virus, there's harmful substances that you've ingested, right? Maybe you've hurt yourself. And when we're talking today about inflammation, we're really not talking about injury, like physical injury, like falling or getting punched, right? Because anytime that you have a physical injury, right, when we talked about localized, this is within the body. But if you break your arm, you're going to have inflammation. We're not really talking about that. We're talking about if you went to the doctor and the doctor said, you're healthy, but your BMI is not. And I know a lot of us don't like BMI. I get it. Trust me. Right. But if your BMI is is overweight plus, and the doctor says you're healthy, there's a problem. Right. There's some bacteria, there's some viruses in there. Right. There's some harmful substances that you're ingesting on a consistent daily basis. The purpose, repair tissue. Inflammatory chemicals stimulate the growth of new blood vessels and cells to heal the damaged area. So once again, there's an issue. Now, this is more about localized, right? When we're talking about the injury, but just understand, but it's not only about that. Understand if you have inflammation in a certain area of the body, there's damage. And if you didn't physically hurt yourself, then there's something that's causing damage. A lot of times, this is going to be due to the things that you're eating or ingesting. A lot of acids break down tissues. If you're eating a lot of acidic forming foods, mucus forming foods, these things are going to then cause inflammation to then be produced. That process is going to ramp up so that the body can send anti-inflammatory compounds to that area to help break this down. Now, when we get into the dangers a little bit, we're going to talk. If you guys, I get ahead of myself. When you start eating a lot of things that are inflammatory and your body doesn't like it, a lot of times we think that is like, oh, I have a lot of fat in my belly. No, you're just inflamed. Your gut is inflamed. And that can easily be taken down by focusing on decreasing the process of inflammation, right? Remove debris. White blood cells remove dead cells and other debris from the site. So inflammation is not all bad. It is a process that's in the body for a reason. So inflammation can be acute or it can be chronic. So short-term or long-term. Acute inflammation is usually caused by a sudden injury or infection that resolves within a few days or weeks. This is absolutely normal, and this is primarily what you want the body to do when you have an issue, right? The inflammation or the process of inflammation is designed to help you heal. And in the short term, it's a good thing. But this is not the long-term relationship that we're looking for. This is not the long-term relationship that we've been dreaming about. We don't want to have a long-term relationship with inflammation, right? Chronic inflammation, on the other hand, can last for months or even years and may be caused by underlying conditions such as autoimmune diseases, infections, or lifestyle factors. Now, me personally, I'm gonna be honest with you, I have a whole thing on autoimmune issues. I don't necessarily believe that they are what they say that they are. But if you are struggling with autoimmune issues, or they say that you have an autoimmune issue, what think of it this way. Because when you're dealing with autoimmune issues, it leaves people feeling hopeless because there's no way to solve them. Because what they tell you is the body is just attacking itself. The body is just simply confused and it's attacking itself. That doesn't make sense. The body, or the physical, the human body, is the most intelligent organism on this planet. Has the highest level of survival. And if we take care of it, it can easily last us over 100 years, right? We were not just randomly created by a rock hitting us and there was an explosion in space. And then after millions and billions of years, finally, these organisms so perfectly just came together randomly. And just over time of evolution, we're just now this human being. Does that make more sense, or does it make more sense that something intelligently created us to survive? It understood disease, it understood illness, it understood these things, and there were processes that were put into place so that way we would then be able to survive on our own or autonomously. You can figure out which one makes more sense to you, right? But if we understand, at least, or if we believe that we were intelligently created, that we have multiple backup systems inside of our bodies to ensure that we can survive as long as possible. If you believe that, then there's no possible way that you can believe that the definition of an autoimmune disease can be true. Does it make more sense that maybe we just haven't designed or figured out what is attacking that part of the body? Or does it make more sense that the body is just attacking itself because it's confused? They would lead you to believe, science, modern day, that right now we know everything, right? Now, I will say, from history, which take that with a grain of salt, we know as much as we have ever known, right? So you would think, oh, we're smarter than we've ever been, but are we? We're discovering new things all the time. How do we know this? Let me give you an example. If you've all heard of Ozempic, GLP-1 medications, right? These things are hot on the market, right? Why are they so hot? Because it was the GLP pathway was discovered in how to stimulate it with a hormone. If we had known this 50 years ago, they would have been on the market then, but they weren't. They're on the market now. Why? Because we found something. Does it make more sense that science just cannot find or pinpoint what the virus or the bacteria or the infection is in that area of tissue, right? That the body is sending white blood cells to now try to heal? The body knows there's an issue there and is trying to heal it. But if science can't see it, or if it's something that we just haven't discovered yet, and they just say, well, there's nothing there, the body's just attacking itself. Does that make sense? I'm sorry. My heart goes out to people that struggle with autoimmune issues. And unfortunately, this is a conversation I have to have with clients pretty regularly, because a lot of people are just told they have autoimmune issues. And it's just a cop-out for, we don't really know what's going on. I mean, that's what they're, when you hear autoimmune, just assume we don't really know what's happening. And what happens is they now just start to shotgun things at you, right? People that have issues with the thyroid, a lot of it is not actually the thyroid. They just want to. I'm not saying I got all the answers. All I'm saying is those answers don't make sense. But we'll continue, right? Because we understand that the body is intelligent, and we understand that inflammation has a purpose. And anytime that you see a lot of these same tissues, you see the blood vessels start to become dilated, right? You see symptoms of infection. Understand that the body has sensed that something is wrong and it is creating or is upregulating inflammation to go fight it. We don't know it yet, but the body knows. Why? Because it's intelligent, it's highly intelligent, and it's never going to attack itself. Moving on, right? So let's talk about the 5 dangers that I have here. Now, there are more than 5. There's a lot, but these are just 5 that I have picked out, right? So number 1, we're gonna keep moving here. So number 1, first of all, if you've learned something and you're like, you know what, Stephen, this sounds really good, and I want to learn a lot more, then join the DR96, because I teach a lot in on all of our challenges. And we're not going to just learn about fasting, but we're also going to learn, well, I don't have anything specific that I'm teaching during this challenge, but always things with mental, always things with emotional, and always giving you things and tools that are going to help you before you realize you need them. Right. So the link is in the chat once again. All right, so let's talk about danger number 1. Inflammation can disrupt the normal balance of fluids and electrolytes in the body. Now, we understand that electrolytes and fluids are extremely important, and balance or homeostasis is so incredibly important. When one thing is out of balance, the body will then start to correct, or it will then start to compensate. That's a better word. It will compensate for a when it's out of balance, when something is out of balance. So many people today think that they have hormonal imbalances, and they might be right. You may have a hormonal imbalance, but there may be something here. It may not be a hormonal imbalance. It may be inflammation, right? Inflammation is the issue. It's not that your hormones are just out of whack, right? Or, whatever. Maybe your body is literally just compensating for the excess fluids due to the chronic inflammation. So what do? Right? We take probiotics because they heard an influencer say it helped them balance their hormones. I can't tell you how many times I have heard the term balance your hormones for an ad, right? For a shake, right? A powder, a supplement. This helped me balance my hormones. I mean, it's unreal. Why? It's a buzz phrase, but they don't actually know what that means. We mean balance your hormones. Did you get tested? And there are so many hormones inside of the body. What are you talking about? Like, do you know how if your hormones are actually literally unbalanced and you are underproducing one hormone and overproducing another, do you think that one capsule of something a day is going to change that? The body is doing it for a reason. We have to understand what the reason is, right? So most of the time you can find these imbalances due to excess inflammation in the body. It's not just as simple as, oh, I went to a doctor and they told me my hormones are out of balance. Well, okay, why? Because they did a few tests and they ran a couple. We have tons of hormones. No, they're all unbalanced. What does that even mean? Why are they unbalanced? I guarantee you, if you decrease inflammation, if you down-regulate inflammation in the body, hormones start regulating again. Yeah, I heard this about my hormones, hair thinning, and just blamed on hormones. It's almost like it's when I hear that, it's almost like the same thing that I hear when it comes to autoimmune. It's just a cop-out. It's like it's the buzz thing right now. Hormones are a buzz phrase. Something's wrong. Oh, you better balance your hormones. Same thing with the gut. We'll talk about it here, but the same thing with the gut. Oh, you got to balance your gut microbiome. Right now, all these things are important. Now, we just realized or figured out like there was the whole gut microbiome and microbiota. This whole thing started about 16 years ago, maybe a little longer now. Let's say 20. Everyone listening is older than that. That's new. You think we figured it out? Jasmine, yeah, it'll be up as soon as the live is over. It'll be available. I mean, come on, man. They just blame everything on hormones, and then it leaves you feeling like what? Okay, so my hormones. So what hormones? Right? I mean, because think about, even if you look at thyroid hormones, there's a ton of them. When people come to me and they be like, "Oh, see my TSH and my TSH," I just be like, "Bro, there's listen. Let's focus on changing our foods, and let's focus on hydrating, and let's focus on decreasing toxins, right? And detox. Let's focus on the things that we can change. Like we can get all the tests in the world, and ooh, you got this and this and this, right? But then it's just like, well, your hormones are imbalanced based upon what? Think about it. If they say your hormones are imbalanced, based upon what? So we're all the same? Well, your hormones are imbalanced based upon these scales that we are supposed to live within. These ranges. Why do you think Black people tend to have more higher blood pressure? The scale wasn't designed or created on a Black person. It was created on a 40-year-old white man. That's where they find health in these averages and ranges. And yeah, you may not fit that. All right, let's keep moving. Danger number 2, inflammation can affect kidney function. That can lead to increased sodium and water retention, which can contribute to fluid overload and edema in the body and potentially the legs long term, causing lipedema. If you struggle with issues with blood sugar levels, y'all know what I'm saying. Y'all know I ain't gonna say the word because the D word, right? Now, if you struggle with diabetes, let me say it. No, let me just say it. Sometimes YouTube be hearing trigger words and they don't like that. But if you struggle with diabetes or blood sugar levels and high blood pressures, one of the core issues is going to be chronic inflammation. Yeah. You will find that in every single diabetic, they have chronic inflammation. Now, where's the inflammation located, ladies and gentlemen? It's in the pancreas. Right? It's not just there, but right, there's an issue with the pancreas. But you're going to find it all over the place. Same with high blood pressure. Right? Whenever you have issues with high blood pressure, whenever there are we just talked about this, blood vessels dilating. If you have a lot of inflammation, blood vessels will dilate in order to increase the flow, right? In order to increase the flow of blood to a certain area, and it will constantly stay high because it is trying to push white blood cells. It's trying to push cytokines. It's trying to push these the different chemicals, the ones that I can't pronounce, remember? It's trying to push the anti-inflammatories to the area that it needs to go to, right? And what happens? You go to the doctor, and the doctor says, "Oh, Mr. Michael, you have high blood pressure. We need to put you on high blood pressure medication." Well, why do I need to go on high blood pressure medication? Well, because high blood pressure causes all these other issues, and you could potentially die because of high blood pressure. No. You're not going to die because of high blood pressure. You'll die because of what the body was doing to try to fix, and which is causing the high blood pressure. I hope that made sense. You're not going to die because of high blood pressure. If you go to any, if someone dies, the cause of death is not going to be high blood pressure. It will be something else. And then you will have these additional symptoms. They'll say, oh, we had diabetes. They might just say you died of natural causes, right? Oh, you had high blood pressure, cholesterol was high. You don't die of these things. The root issue kills you. These are all add-ons. These are symptoms. So if you go to the doctor and the body is saying, I need to increase blood pressure, and you go to the doctor and they say, well, Mr. Michael, we need to put you on high blood pressure medication to bring this blood pressure down. And I say, okay. And I start taking high blood pressure medication. That medication starts to decrease my blood pressure, but my body's saying, hey, bro, I pumped that up for a reason. You need these extra nutrients in this area because you're trying to heal this area. And the body can never get there because it's constantly being diluted and the blood vessels are being widened, not because they want to, but they're being forced to. But it's constantly trying to push things. What does that do? It causes things to be unbalanced. If you are dealing with high blood pressure, it's high for a reason. The body is doing something to save you. So the solution is not just bring down the high blood pressure. The solution is deal with the thing that's causing it. And if we just focus on decreasing inflammation, just focusing on decreasing inflammation, that also means that we're decreasing the issue that caused the body to upregulate the process of inflammation to occur. We're killing multiple birds with one stone. All right. All right, let's go to the next one. Number 3, because we're running out of time. I told y'all, man, sometimes the spirit takes over. I can't help it. Forgive me. Inflammation can negatively affect muscle function and potentially lead to muscle wasting or loss of muscle. Now, this is really important. Some of you may care about this more than others, but hopefully I'll make you care about this when I'm done. Right? A study recently showed that based upon the amount of muscle an individual has can be attributed to their potential lifespan. So on average, and we're not talking about like bodybuilders, right? Oh, bodybuilders should just live longer. It doesn't work that way, right? But just on average, the more muscle you have, the longer potentially that you will live. And we see this in elderly individuals as they age and they lose more and more muscle, and systemic inflammation is at the core. You'll find tons of inflammation at the core of someone who would pass away, like of old age, we'll say. Natural causes, natural, right? Or heart attack, or you're going to find systemic inflammation. But in particular, the muscle, like this is what we want. The more inflammation that you have on the body, the easier it is for muscle to waste away. So that body that you want, that when you have this vision in your mind and you're like, okay, I'm going to start fasting, and I want to start fasting for health reasons because that really is the number one reason, right? That's really the number one reason we're fasting, right? It's for health reasons, right? Right? Number 2 is I want to change the way that my body looks. That's always number 2, right? Because that's never the reason that we primarily want to fast, right? But wink, right? Once again, the reason we want to make these changes is because we want to look good. And I have found that just simply fasting and just losing weight is never going to get you to that picture that you have in your mind. The picture that you have in your mind, if you could snap your fingers. Now understand me. You can lose a few pounds and still be happy with yourself, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if you can snap your fingers and create the physical look that you want in the blink of an eye without any effort, I promise you, 10 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10, you are going to need muscle to create that body. You're going to need to increase muscle and decrease fat. Why can I say 10 times out of 10? I can say 10 times out of 10 because I understand the process of toning. And a lot of times, and I've heard this so much, Stephen, I don't want to lose a lot of weight. I just want to lose like 20 pounds and then tone up. Well, in order for you to tone up, there's two things that need to happen. Number one, fat needs to go down. Number two, muscle mass needs to go up. There has to be this. If that doesn't happen, you don't tone. If you continue to stay where you're at, right, and you just simply lose fat, great. You're gonna be skinny fat. Or if your muscle just goes up, great. You'll be strong fat. All right, that's the best. I don't know. I don't know the term for that. All right, you be strong, but you chubby. You be like one of the, like a not a bodybuilder, a power lifter. You're right. If you want that power lifter look, they can lift a ton of weight, but they're still overweight, right? And then you have the bodybuilders at the exact opposite, really low fat, but higher muscle tone. So in order for you to get to where you want to go, you need muscle. Inflammation absolutely destroys muscle. So if you want to get to where you want to go, you got to decrease inflammation. This is going to help you build muscle. If you've been in the gym and you're struggling gaining muscle, or if you're struggling holding on to muscle, inflammation. I hope at this point, I gain muscle when I fast for a long time. That's awesome. I'm not going to say that you're not gaining muscle, but you are definitely decreasing fat, which is going to make your muscle more pronounced. If you are active, then absolutely, yeah, right? You have HGH that goes up through the roof, right? Thousands of percent. It goes through the roof, so it does make it easier to increase muscle as well. So if you've learned something at this point and you have not joined the DR96, I mean, come on, man. Come on, man. Come through. This is the altar call. All right, let me keep going. I only got a few more minutes left. Danger number 4, inflammation can actually, this is the craziest thing. Inflammation can actually cause chronic dehydration. Now, we have to understand, right? Inflammation, now all the other things that we mentioned earlier, right? We mentioned, the white T cells, Treg cells, all the chemicals, all of these things are at their core have hydration. They're all made up of hydration, right? So you would think, oh, body is sending water to the area. How can I dehydrate myself? That's a great question. When we have excess water or inflammation systemically throughout the systemically, I'm a little goofy tonight, throughout the body, the kidneys will be put into a tough position to try to remove what it can. Unfortunately, the thing that's removed is cellular water. What you need and the inflammation, I'm sorry, I did not complete that sentence properly. The kidneys will be put into a hard position to try to remove what it can. Unfortunately, the thing that's removed is cellular water, which you need. There we go. And not the inflammation that is being retained in the tissues. This can lead to chronic dehydration, which causes a host of additional issues. So what this basically means is when you have chronic inflammation or systemic inflammation, the kidneys upregulate and they start to then remove as much water as they can. But the problem is that inflammation or the process of inflammation is not processed through the kidneys, but the kidneys get the signal to say we have too much water. So then it starts to release more diuretic hormones, and those hormones then start flushing water from the system. But the problem is that you're not drinking enough water and eating hydrating foods to maintain hydration, but the body is flushing all of your actual cellular hydration from all throughout the tissues that you want to retain because the inflammation is telling the body there's a lot of hydration here. It doesn't get confused, but what it's trying to do is trying to maintain balance. What did we talk about earlier? Homeostasis. The body will then change things or do certain things in order to maintain proper ratios. When it sees that it has too much water inside of it, Guess what? If you go and you start and you drink a half a gallon of water right now, what are you going to do? You're going to instantly pee. But the funny thing is that what you're peeing out is not even what you just drank. What you're peeing out is hydration that your body has been using and it will process. But when you add half a gallon at one time, the body says we have too much water in the system, and then it starts decreasing pee immediately. You start peeing immediately, but you're not peeing what you just drank. It's not running through you. This is hydration. It's already in the system, this process that your body's going to use. This is one of the reasons why you don't want to chug a ton of water at one time. Whew. Y'all got me out here. Right? So the body is always going to work to compensate or to correct, to keep itself in homeostasis. So unfortunately, it says, well, we need the inflammation in order to heal ourselves. We can deal with a little bit less hydration. So you start decreasing or peeing out actual hydration that you need. And when this happens over a long period of time, you become chronically dehydrated. And this is deadly. And then it also increases inflammation, because now you have organs, you have tissues that are not getting the hydration that they need. And then now they start to become red and swollen. And the body says, oh my God, there's a problem here. There's damage here. Send inflammation. So inflammation continues to go up. Hydration continues to go down. It's a dangerous system. This is why it's so important to focus on the removal of inflammation. Inflammation in the gut. And we touched on this a little earlier, but I'm going to go through it. But inflammation in the gut can disrupt the microbiome and lead to the inability, this is important, the inability to absorb nutrients and feed healthy gut bacteria. So many people think that they just have a lot of fat in the belly or the lower stomach. And at the core of that issue, you will find compacted waste, inflamed small and large intestines due to chronic inflammation. So a lot of your issues may not simply just be due to I just have a lot of fat there. No, a lot of those issues can be due to chronic inflammation in that area. Compacted waste. One of the reasons why one of the first things you see when you start losing weight, your neck slims, your face slims down. You start losing weight in that area because a lot of that water starts to flush out. And then the stomach. Now, I know some people are like, Steve, no, I can't lose no stomach. Yeah, you are. You are. It's one of the first places to go. Now, that doesn't mean your stomach's going to be flat like you want it, but you are losing it in the stomach because a lot of inflammation is held in the stomach, right? But one thing sorry, let me go back. But one thing I want to point out here is really an important thing, is that inflammation can actually disrupt the microbiome. So you're going to hear two different words, and they're used. People kind of use them the same way, or maybe you've never heard the other one, right? But you have microbiome, which is basically talking about the totality or the ecosystem inside of your gut, all of that bacteria. And then you have the term microbiota, right? Which is typically talking about the actual bacteria itself, right? So sometimes you hear people use them, and maybe you've never heard those things before. You learned something today, right? But a lot of your gut and the bacteria inside of your gut actually helps to break down and absorb a lot of nutrients that your body does not finish absorbing or breaking down. It is the job of the gut and the bacteria in there to do that. And if you have chronic inflammation, then your body will have the inability, or the bacteria will have the inability to absorb those nutrients that you need, which can lead to nutrient deficiencies. Not simply just because there's so many things here, right? But it's not. A lot of times people think like, oh, I got so much, I eat so well. Like, no, or they feel like they eat something and then they just hold on to everything they eat. Like, you ever ate something, you're like, oh my God, I just feel like everything I eat, my body just holds on to. Yeah, you're probably deficient in nutrients. And the body's literally crying, please feed me. Most people, I forget the statistic, but I'm pretty sure it's in the 90s, or have some sort of nutrient deficiency. Multiple people. right? Now, Stephen wasn't always Stephen Michael. Um, and I had a what's it called, micronutrient test done, and a lot of my nutrients and stuff were great. A lot of my vitamins, a lot of my nutrients are great. Electrolytes are great. Obviously, I don't eat meat, so um, some of the amino acids that you would primarily get from like meats were under what are they called? I need more of them based upon their scale, which I was like, nah, I think I'm okay, right? But you can also get them from non-meat products, and it's so cool because I was like, oh, okay, what are the non-meat products that I get these from? And then it's like, oh, well, I don't eat these, right? So you can find out now. Just because I was low doesn't mean I was deficient. I actually had no deficiencies, but there were some things that were low, and it was like, you need more of this. Also, so cool. My magnesium was low, and she was like, "Do you have trouble sleeping?" I was like, "Absolutely." She was like, "You under a lot of stress?" Absolutely. It's like, okay, well, magnesium, of course, is helps you to sleep, and then it also it is used in a large amount under high amounts of stress. And I was like, "Oh my god, I didn't know that." Right? This was years ago, and so I just started taking magnesium every day. Um, Now, also, I understand that that's not going to be the answer. I had to change some things on my diet as well, right? Anyway, at the core of all of this, you can be eating all the right things, and you can be like, Steven, I feel like I eat so good, right? But if you're not able to absorb a lot of things that you're eating because you have chronic inflammation, it's almost like no point. I'm not saying it's no point. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that you got to solve, or you got to manage the chronic inflammation, so these things actually can take hold inside of you, right? Now, if you haven't figured it out by now, right? This is we're gonna talk about the solution, right? And we've been talking about it the entire call since the very beginning. Dry fasting, right? There's no secret here. I told y'all from the rip. Ain't no surprise. I was I was up front. Why I'm here. Dry fasting is the most effective. I'm sorry, not the most. I mean, it is one of the most. I use that word, even though I do believe it is the most, but I'm sure who knows, there's maybe other things out there. But it's one of the most effective ways to decrease the process of chronic inflammation in the body. I personally don't know anything that does it better. Now, any type of fasting will do this, but dry fasting does it the best. It is the most elite. There's nothing that I've seen that does it better, does it faster, right? And does it more efficiently. Now, why does this happen? During the process of dry fasting, the body upregulates the hormone ADH. Okay, another hormone, right? Oh, Steven, my hormones are out of balance. Which one? There's tons of them. I digress, right? But the body upregulates hormone ADH, which is also called the antidiuretic hormone. This causes the body to retain vital hydration through the vasopressive system, which is also located in the kidneys. You may have heard me talk about this before, right? But there's a response that happens from the vasopressin system that tells the body, I need you to hold water. It's an antidiuretic. So a diuretic, like coffee, makes you pee. It makes you to push out hydration, right? The hormone ADH makes you retain hydration. But you're like, well, Steven, I want to lose. Yeah, we do, but we don't want to lose. We don't want to lose hydration. We want to decrease inflammation. We want to decrease fat. We want to tell the body to go find hydration other places. So this is the most amazing thing. Oh, it's so crazy that we were able to, there was an explosion in space, and then the body somehow created a vasopressin system that has a hormone that regulates, and when the body is not able to get water, right, then it just happens to know there was this hormone that was created biologically. It just happened to know that it needs to turn on an antidiuretic system to recycle hydration through the kidneys. Like, come on. If you guys weren't here for my talk about autoimmune, this may seem a little confusing to you, or you'd be like, wait, what? Right? I'm being sarcastic. The autoimmune thing doesn't make sense. We are intelligently created. Like there are so many systems like this in the body. Some that we don't even know about. Oh my God, the liver. The liver does over 2,000 jobs. It has more jobs than any other organ in the body. And they can't even properly research the liver because the liver is absolutely needed in order for the body to function. So they can't actually like look at it and research it and cut it, pieces of it out and test it while it's alive. So they only know what it does when it's dead, but they don't really know because you can't test it on someone unless you literally. I mean, now we're going into some evil scientist, mad scientist type stuff, but that's the problem. Everything else you can look at. But the liver is so intricate, we don't really understand it, right? Anyway, this causes the body to retain vital hydration through the vasopressin system. Since the body has to no longer process food or water, the main focus is now healing. We understand that inflammation is designed to help heal an area so the body can focus on the most critical parts of healing, and the inflammation will be tuned or turned down. During dry fasting, the body will absorb hydration to the skin. And also, and the most wonderful part about all of this, which is like the best thing, it also breaks down fat storage at a extremely high rate to utilize hydration inside of the cell. Now, the trade-off, right, where some of us have done dry fasting and some people are like, oh my God, I started getting detox symptoms day 2, and I normally don't get them until like day 4 of my water fasting. Why? There's a trade-off. The body is breaking down fat cells at a much higher rate, much higher, because it needs the hydration. So in order for it to break that fat down a lot faster, right, it's also breaking down, when it breaks down that fat cell because it needs the water, it's not just taking the water and leaving the rest. It also takes out the nutrition and it processes that, but then it also takes out the toxins and it processes that as well. And then anytime that you have your detox pathways that are going to be overwhelmed, this is why you're going to experience detox symptoms. So everything is balanced. So you can experience more detox symptoms. They can be a little more intense, but you also will experience a much higher level of weight loss and fat loss as well. So, something is on my, all right. So I hope that helps. Intelligently created. Thank you for the 10. Appreciate it. Chris ain't going. Chris, he don't be giving me no money. I be doing these for free. He don't be giving me no bread. Somebody got to tell Chris, hey man, you got paste. I'm joking. Yes, we are intelligently created, and when you start to study the body, even light studying. I mean, I'm talking about even light. You will start to realize, ain't no way the cosmos there was an explosion all of a sudden. All these, oh my God. I mean, the fat cells alone, I like to call them fat storage because that's literally what they are. They're so intelligent. And then the fact that they can communicate with every other part of the body, it communicates with the liver. Man, listen, at the end of the day, whether you join the challenge or not, that's up to you. Do I want you to join? Absolutely. If you can't, completely understand. But at the end of the day, our goal here, with every live, is to, number one, thank you for being here. Number two, promote whatever it is that we're promoting. In this sense, it's the DR96, right? But most importantly, at the end of the day, it's to make sure that you get value. And I hope that you learn something new. That's all I care about. You learn something. I want you to leave here and go on about your Saturday, because I know it's actually St. Patty's weekend. So I know people are, they're getting together with friends and family, and that's all good. Enjoy that. And then Sunday, come lock in. But I just want to make sure that you guys leave with some value. And I would hope I would hope that you learned at least one thing here tonight. That's my hope. If you learned one thing, you can be like, man, I watched that live with Steven. It was an hour and 10 minutes. The first 10 minutes he spent joking around. This man was smiling. You know what I mean? He's just acting crazy, you know. But I learned something. And I learned something that I didn't realize. And there's some things that that made sense. And that's all I care about. I just want things to click. And sometimes we just need one little thing to click. Like if you've been around in the wellness sphere and you've been around it for a while, but you haven't made any like real big progress, like notable progress, then there's something that just needs to click. You know, there's just that screw that just needs to be a little more tightened. And that's all I try to look for. Try to give information and just make that one thing click. Because as soon as it does, everything else falls into place. It's like, oh my God, this all now makes sense. I wasn't really, I didn't really understand it, but I knew it. Right? Which kind of sounds crazy. You can know something, but you don't truly understand it. And when it clicks for you and you're like, oh my God, that makes so much sense now. And then it's just like all the light bulbs turn on and the energy lights up and everything can now run properly. So that's all I try to do. Is try to find something that clicks. Yes, I learned a lot and I enjoyed your humor. Thank you. Is there a prep to jumpstart the DR96 or do we just dive into it? No, we're definitely not diving into it. There's a full prep. So it's the live or the challenge kicks off tomorrow, but it's not, we don't start fasting tomorrow. It's literally just the live and then we go through the prep. So there's a prep. So you can join. Maybe you can't join until Monday and you missed the live on Sunday. That's okay. We still got a whole prep period that we go through. So you're okay. If you can't join until, I can't say next Friday because it'll probably be closed by then. So you do want to join. But no, you're not gonna dive right into dry fasting immediately. There's a preparation process. Zeke, yes, turmeric, ginger, lemon, lime are all anti-inflammatory. One of the reasons why I also suggest lemon water in the morning. That's actually an off reason why I suggest lemon water, but it's part of it. Gloria, I'm so proud of you, Stephen, and your success and how much you've learned. Thank you very much. Listen, I could sit here all day. I could sit here all day and do this, but I'm not going to do that to you guys. I know some people are going to come back later. Hey man, y'all, you don't got to send no money. Chris don't give it to me anyway. I better not let him hear that. It's true though. Hey, you know what? Hey, hold on one second. Before you send some money, here's what you can do. You want to support me? Here's what you can do. Inside of the live, there is my website. It's Moss Up Today. I sell sea moss, but that's not really the reason why I told you about this. If you want some sea moss, go ahead and grab some. But that's not what I'm telling you. I created a guide. It's called the Fasting Identity Guide, and what is at its core is designed to do is number one, helps you track your all your progress while you're fasting, but primarily it's designed to really help you work on your identity. And unfortunately, that's a whole 2-hour lesson that we're not gonna have time to talk about. But I have videos on it inside of the guide. There's a lot of information, and it comes with 3 QR codes that link to the identity videos as well. So you get 3 videos with the guide. The guide's $15. So I made it extremely reasonably priced, and I created it for the last challenge, and I have like 25 left. So I don't probably less than that now, but there was a couple hundred that I created. And I just have a few that are left over. So if you want one, you can grab one. But that link is there. You guys, all these 10s. I'm gonna tell Chris to slide. That's $30. I'm gonna hey, Chris, slide me that YouTube money. No, I'm joking. All right, I love you guys. Listen, thank you very much. I do appreciate you all. I need to go live on YouTube more. This is awesome. And there's so many people here. We had like over 100, over 100. I think our peak, we hit like 330 people. Before you leave, close out of the chat. Like the stream, please. This helps other people see it as well. And with that, I appreciate you all. Thank you very much. Have a great night. Join the DR96. Peace.